Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I'm excited. I met Travis Brady at my good friend Sean Finnegan's X Room probably about 2 weeks ago, I think now. And we kind of ended up getting in this group and we started talking. I was like, I need to bring him for my audience. But Travis, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you help.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for having me on. I'm excited to have a conversation. I have a branding agency called Brand X. Been doing that for the last 10 years. Prior to that, was in transformation coaching, personal training, peak performance. And then we believe every brand leader's X factor is their story. So we help document it through video to share the story behind the brand. Really to be the first line of offense to really integrating people into your personal brand, building trust, connection, and really starting to seed the idea of working with you as a company. I found this really unique way of building communities through paid ads. We help people build communities that essentially refer itself and grow their network, and then we help people automate their brand through AI and back-end automation.
No, I love that. And branding is so important. I'm in the sales world, as you know. And a lot of times people's perception of you is 80 to 90% of the sale, to be honest. Can you produce what they're doing? Do you understand their pain points? Do you understand their needs? Have you always been in branding? Has that just been something you've liked doing? Or is that like you said before you were doing, I think maybe personal training as well? Did you just move into that space because it was working, or how did you get that flow?
Yeah, good question. So when I was a personal trainer, I started to evolve more into the life coaching, peak performance coaching, transformation coaching. So I was doing like this mind and body type of transformation, and not everyone was, no one was really doing what I was doing. It was kind of on its, cutting edge. I see a lot more personal trainers talking about it now, which I love to see. And I was getting really frustrated that my business wasn't growing as fast. I saw a lot of others successful, and I really looked at deep at everything with a business, and I realized that I really just skipped over the branding. I thought the person that was the best at what they did just won. And so I kind of skipped over the marketing piece, the branding piece, how you showcase it, because how you frame something and how you present something is more important than that something. As I started to do it, I had a lot of other personal trainers and coaches come my way, asked me how I build a business. So I naturally started to help them. And the storytelling piece came when I was at the National Speakers Association. I was on the board there for a couple of years, got to rub shoulders with some really top level speakers. And if you're in speaking long enough, the all roads lead to storytelling, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because that's the best and easiest way to really influence people. Facts tell, stories sell, facts inform, stories transform. And so it just naturally became that way and brought in the video because, video is a big piece of scaling you as the influencer and the king and personal brand of your business.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's funny, actually. I posted that today. There's people farther along than you that don't have the skill set you do because they're taking more action than you do. Like, literally, we were on the same wavelength with it, and I sell through stories all day long. Like, because people need to connect that way. So, how would you, because to give you an idea, my audience is 75% male. A lot of them are either sales professionals because as you see my work behind me, I'm a huge background in sales, done it for years, or
Nice.
they're first time business owners, or they're cool people like Sean that, that he'll listen to my show because he's hooking me up. That's those type of cool people too. How do you help people establish a brand? Like, say someone's new, they're really good at their skill, they're wanting to start out and do something. What would you tell them to do first?
I believe branding really starts with, why are you here on this earth? So it goes more of a spiritual, religious, belief. Are we live out our deepest beliefs subconsciously? There is more suns and stars in the universe than there are grains of sand in all the beaches of all the world. If you add up every little grain, there'd be still more suns in the universe by a lot, actually. If you don't believe me, you should absolutely research it. And so it just like really boggles your minds, like what we're like so insignificant in the grand scheme of existence, So how did we get here? What's the purpose of it all? And so I feel like we start from this really core section, and then start to work outwards, and every brand needs to be able to ask these four questions, or what I refer to as the four W's. Why do you do what you do? Why does that matter? What's your central belief system? What's the way you do it? What's your formula? What's your process? Who do you work with? Who do you not work with? And what's the transformation? And so the goal when I'm working with people is once we get through all those four W's and we get to the core and we sloganize all those, now we really work backwards. Okay, what's the experience or what's the story that essentially you've lived out that would make you believe those things? So that's where we start the branding process.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think so many times people have a skill to get told, hey, go do this, but they don't have any framework to get there. So they'll come and they'll blast and they'll try and just get a bunch of people, or they'll post for a couple weeks and nothing happens and they run away. I love the fact that you have like a set plan in motion, like, hey, what's your story? What's your vision? What's your plan? But going to your core function. Because my thoughts right now with AI, and I love AI and I use AI, so don't hear I'm not saying this. You can do more with face-to-face connection and being different than everyone else, like stopping in even. I know a lot of people hate that word, but if you're in a business and you actually stop into another business, you actually get more traction a lot now than everyone trying to do the AI stuff. What is your take on that? I mean, I'm into both. I use AI, don't hear what I'm not saying, but I'm always looking in the branding space. How can I be different than everyone else is trying to do a chat bot right now?
Yeah, good question. It's not necessarily a black or white thing. I mean, if you're not using AI, you're just going to get left behind. I think the biggest problem that people have with AI is they give it so little prompt.
Hmm.
Create me a post, this or that, or do this. And so they're not really filtering everything of who they are. AI is only as powerful as the prompt that you give it.
Hmm.
Right? Kind of like a gun. A gun is only as powerful as how you use the gun, right? Guns can kill people, guns can save people, so it's really how you use it. And so one of the cool things that we recently just started to get into is really getting everyone's messaging, their beliefs, their style, their feeling, everything about themselves, and uploading it to an AI platform. And we're calling it the AI brand cortex. The cortex of the brain is responsible for all the decision making.
Hmm.
And so, when you are really clear on those messages and you're always moving from that place of your actual brand, now you're going to stand out a little bit more versus just sound like everybody else. Is it your actual voice?
Hmm.
Or is it, you've seen posts are like, oh yeah, that sounds like AI for sure. So I think people just aren't taking the time to really upload their personal brand into AI and filtering it through everything of who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know for me, for the past couple of years, I've been filtering it. I have had people on with AI before. I think it's important to keep your voice because if not, you're going to just muddy it up. Like, I'm not going to start talking with super big, professional, epic words because all of a sudden, if I'm using a word I've never used before in a post, people are going to know that. Whereas if you can stick to the message, you're good. Do you advise people to niche, or are you more into, because there's two schools of thought. B2C, it's spray and pray in a lot of ways. You have a solution, people want to buy a shaker cup, you just market it to everyone. But when you get into coaching, high ticket, or anything like that, I think it's better to niche. But what are your thoughts on that? You're the branding expert.
Yeah, they say the riches are made in the niches. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one before.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to niche. When we started, I ran ads for a lot of years and it just never worked for me. I always felt like I was flushing money down the toilet,
Hmm.
and the business owner, everyone's felt like that at some point in time that they're flushing money down the toilet, right? But one day I decided to really get specific in an ad, and I ran it, and I got a lot of attention. And so I decided to do another one, and the one I decided to do was really on improv. I didn't really plan it like I usually do. I was just in my back of my yard in my pool. It was a Friday afternoon. I just put up the camera and uh, filmed filmed the video, did a little Trump impression because they kept blocking my ads. So I said, You keep blocking the ad. We can't keep blocking the ad. You must. I did some type of Trump impression, and I swear to you, that got so much attention.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even keep up on all the messages. And so, the biggest problem, people think that their problem is that they don't have enough leads, but really the biggest problem is most people just don't have a system to funnel their leads to their sales process in a way that feels genuine and authentic and really puts the person in control of the conversation. People don't want to be sold, but people love to buy stuff.
Hmm.
And so that's really the philosophy that we apply with all our clients, and really leading with value. And our motto is our free stuff is better than people's paid stuff. And it just works. It kind of goes back, and I'm sure you know this, when you give, you receive. And so we just focus on, automating the giving part, and making sure that, everything you're doing within your business is something that would feel good to you when you're buying something. So, there at the end of the day, there has to be bots, there has to be follow-ups, there has to be some of these things, but I think how you use them is the difference between, alienating someone and bringing someone closer to you.
Yeah, and you know what I loved about that? And I found this in my own stuff. If I just go and record, like I literally did a walk right before this because I like to walk. I live here in Arizona as well. So like I have to get outside because I don't want to just sit in my office all day long at home. And those reels normally get 3 to 5 times more. And I think it's because of the authenticity. Because I think when people see it staged or see the perfect model or see the perfect thing, they're like, okay, this is a sales thing. But when you're just talking like you did in your pool, all of a sudden, wait a minute, Travis is just talking in his pool. He's just jamming. This is just a normal conversation. I think I like that. And then you did the funny thing. You did the Trump impersonation, which you'll get the people that hate Trump because you're going to get all the people that are going to hate on him. Go, why are you doing that for? To get people that love Trump, and the people just think you're funny. So, do
Yeah.
you try to get people to add humor or provocative posts, or how do you do that? Because I've seen it both ways. Some people are like, just do business, don't say anything, and there are people like, oh, just throw it out there because you're going to get the right people that are attracted to you anyway.
Yeah, I believe you should really be the full version of yourself. Most people, I would say this about everyone. Everyone has a particular flavor, as far as their personality goes. And I think sometimes we dull down ourselves. We dull down who we are because we want to be liked. And when we try to be liked, we give up the ability to be loved.
Hmm.
And I think some people show up on social media, afraid of what the haters might think or hope people like them. And it's really the worst way, to do it. You really have to be bold in who you are. You have to be bold in what you believe. And, vanilla ice cream isn't my favorite ice cream, but if you gave me a really good, natural, real ice cream with real sugar and the homemade, I'd probably like it. And I think the
Hmm.
more real people are to themselves, they'll attract more people than they think they would.
Yeah, when I think too much, we think people are thinking about us. Even when they criticize us, I really don't think they're thinking about us. I think it's just how it's reflecting and hitting them. Um, I've been in sales long enough now that I'm not afraid to, well, like when I met, I took over that group right at the beginning. Like, who wants to go first? That's just my natural tendency. I've learned to be me. When I talk to CEOs of $1 million companies that I've worked with or billion, I literally talk to them like we're talking now. And for some reason, because like you said, that authenticity comes through, it works better than if I tried to kiss their butt or do anything like that. How did you get past the fear of, because you don't have that either, the fear of what people think? Because I think a lot of people deal with it. How did you get past that? Was it just trial and error, or just what was your process to get through there?
Yeah, I think it's natural human behavior to want to be accepted and liked, right? It goes back to the core of our DNA, right? Like if we were in a tribe, we had to be liked. And if we weren't liked, we'd be casted out. And if we were casted out of our community, our ability to survive would go down. So, fast forward it to our society, that's not really the truth. If a group of people don't like us, there's a million other that probably do, but that same survival mechanism is still present within our central nervous system. So I think understanding how we're programmed as a human being is really important to understand because the more you understand it, the more you could reprogram yourself. Just like a computer, right? It's programmed a certain way, and the more you understand about how it's programmed, the more you can help it be programmed the way that you want it to be. So I think that's the first step. When you have ultimate unconditional love and acceptance for yourself, you know, you don't seek out to try to win everyone because you, at the end of the day, you have that self-acceptance. And self-acceptance is not necessarily like like liking yourself. You could learn to do that later. Like you need to love yourself. And as you love yourself, you'll learn to like yourself because there's a lot of things that I don't like about myself. There's a lot of tendencies that I have that sometimes really bug me and it really makes me feel down. But the more I can love myself, the more that I will end up liking myself. And so when we don't love ourselves, I think we end up trying to get other people to like us. And it's a really dangerous road to go down that path. There's a really good book for those that struggle with that. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Have you ever heard of that before?
Nope, I've
It's
not,
a-
but I'll read it
yeah,
now.
it's a really, really good book. Um, and the problem that I feel like I had earlier on is people would do stuff or say stuff and I would just let it slip when in reality it didn't align with my values or it didn't align with how I run my programs or it really put me at an inconvenient stage or spot that forced me to do more work or be more and I would just let it ride and then it blows up later in my face because I wasn't able to have that conversation earlier. So nice guys are manipulative. At the end of the day, they don't realize they are. But in that book, it talks about all the psychology of why people are nice. And yeah, and at the end of the day, we don't like nice men. We
Mhm.
like strong men. We like certain men. We like confident men. We like all those parts of the men. Nice men, it is kind of true. Nice men finish last.
Mhm. I actually, you're gonna laugh at this. And former nice guy. When I was younger, I was a people pleaser. That was just what I knew until I was like, this just doesn't make sense anymore. And people call me a nice guy. I'm like, no, I'm kind. There's a distinct difference. I can be nice to you, but I'm choosing kindness here because I love Jordan Peterson. He says you need to become a monster and be able to control it. I
Yeah.
think too many times men are told, well, just do this nice thing or do that nice thing. And I know you deal with men stuff too, so we're going to shift there a little bit. I think too many times men think if they're nice, they do the dishes, they do the thing, the wife is just going to fall over them, or if they do this, then this person will accept them. But in reality, you have to have some dangerousness about you, or strength, or ability, because that's where the respect comes. At least from my point of view with that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think too many times we try to be nice, but like you said, it's manipulated. You're trying to be nice to your wife or girlfriend to get some. You're trying to be nice to your boss to get a promotion, and none of that works at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, yeah, you have to read the book. I don't really know where else to go with it, else. But yeah, nice men finish last. It really is true. They're trying to get something out of the situation and they feel like being nice is going to get the results. And it might get things in the moment. It might be like that quick hit of dopamine. But later I feel like is when it ends up blowing up in your face, because of it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. So if I remember correctly from talking with you when we were at Sean's event, you also do some stuff well, like with men's groups and things like that. Is that correct, Travis?
Yeah, so me and my business partner, we are co-founder of the Brotherhood Nation. We have a group here in Arizona called the Arizona Brotherhood, and then we just launched in San Diego as well through the process. So it's about brotherhood first, business second. The whole mindset behind it was, we as busy men, we get busy, and we really don't take time to have fun. And sometimes we don't really take time to network. So I wanted to combine those two ideas of networking and having fun and bringing men together and getting connected. And when I first started doing it, it was just beer business and brotherhood is what I called it. And yeah, it ended up just domino affecting into something much bigger than I ever thought it was. So now I'm really passionate about bringing men together. Last night we did whiskey and cigars at my house, and we talked about brotherhood. We talked about our dads. We talked about the things that we wish um, our dads would have taught us. We asked conversations like, who did you feel like you had to be for your dad to give you love? What did your dad really want? It kind of made me sad. I asked, how many guys' dads have passed away. And I mean, at least 35-40% of them raised their hands. I'm lucky enough to have my dad alive. I just texted him this morning and told him I loved him. But the question we asked was how many what would you wish you would have told your dad when he was
Mhm.
alive? So it was really good conversations. We got into what did you learn about love through divorce? And yeah, and I just imagine, before the brotherhood even started, I imagine a lot of those conversations happen. And so many guys came up to me after and said, "Thank you for putting this together. I love what this is all about." And just we as men don't really get the space to be together much because we're busy, being the man of the house. We have a lot of obligations. So that's why I built the brotherhood, is just to bring men together. I believe in the sanctity of brotherhood. Jesus doesn't walk in the room and see 23 businessmen connecting. He walks in a room and sees 23 brothers building relationships.
Mhm.
And so that's the whole mindset behind it. You'll have to come out, man. I think you'd fit in perfect with everything we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have to set that up. And I was just thinking about this because I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of men don't have anyone to talk to, or a lot of men try and do it on their own, or a lot of men have like suicide. It's 75% men. I think it might be higher than that. So my numbers, for the ones that are going to correct me, I could be wrong, but it's at least 75% of suicides are men. Like there's an epidemic. And I think for thousands of years, you mentioned we had tribes, we had people, we had groups that we would go, you'd go to war with them, you'd go hunting with them, you'd have a brotherhood. You might do something with your dad or with someone else. They train you a craft. And in today's society, we're all alone. So I highly commend you for that. I am going to ask you this question because it just hit me when you were saying it. How many men do you think have a father wound? Meaning, and not that your dad was bad. My dad was a hard worker, boomer. He's still alive. I actually just texted him today too. My mom passed in November, but he's still alive. But different generation, and he wasn't able to do like I do a lot more with my kids. He knows this. This is no shade on him at all. We have an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
But there's certain things I do because I didn't get that as a kid. How many people do you think men have a father wound? I call it that. There might be a better term.
Yeah, I think we learned some great things from our dads. I think we learned some bad things from our dads. I think we subconsciously do great things that we were taught from our dads. And I think subconsciously we do not so great things, from our dads. And so I think everyone has both. I think it's a matter of just being conscious. I feel like I had a great dad growing up. He coached us in baseball. He was always there. I didn't worry about my dad doing off drugs or going partying or going off with other women. Like he was a stoic man. He was a classic yeah, he was just a classic father is how I would classic American father is how I would describe my dad. Gosh, I might get a little teary-eyed just thinking about it. But there's also some things, and it's kind of the same things, not to throw shade. There's also a lot of things that I learned that I wish I wouldn't have learned, and I wish that he would have been more conscious in that. And my son will probably say the same thing. I wish my dad would have taught me this or showed me this, or I wish that my dad didn't pass this down to me. So, when my son gets older, I'm gonna say I fucked you up somehow, in good ways and bad ways. You're a grown ass adult now. You get to decide. The truth of it is we are not the gatekeeper to our mind when we're younger. We are not the guardian of our soul and the captain of our body. We're just not. But as we grow older, those things become more true. And so a lot of who we are as humans really they've done studies on this, goes back to you when you were 5, 6 years old and some of the things that you've had. And our body will remember things that our mind will never learn. If you
Hmm.
look at a rose, you admire the flower, but what grew the flower? It was the root system. Our body is the root system. Our mind is the rose. So although someone says, hey, they're smart, it's really the body, it's their experiences that really made them smart. So I think the biggest problem we have, with transformation these days, and I fall victim of it a lot too, is we think we could transform just by the mind. We think merely by listening to this podcast that it's going to change things. And it might start, like transformation starts in the mind, but the body is more powerful.
No, I love that. Yeah, my son is 20. There are things I've gone to him and I've apologized for when I was younger, like, hey, I messed up here. Like I have a rule with my kids. I have two daughters and a son. If I mess up, I will go and I will apologize because of it, but not just apologize. I'm actually going to change what I'm doing. Because I think a lot of times we might have someone say, I'm sorry, but they're not really actually changing anything, so it doesn't really matter. They're just empty words. But yeah, we're all going to mess our kids up some. But here's a question I have for you, because this is something that I probably about 8 years ago started looking at. If I don't challenge my beliefs, are they really mine? Religion, politics, relationship, everything. Because I was like, I inherited this. Now I am a Christian. I've looked into it. I love the Bible of Jesus. But for a while there, I challenged it because I'm like, is this just what I grew up in, or is this something I really believed? And I've done that with like all my different things. What are your thoughts on that? And again, I am a little bit out there. I will challenge things. It's part of my personality.
Yeah, no, when you said that, I had to stop and think. I love that, by the way. If I don't challenge my beliefs, are they really mine? Yeah, I think we should always challenge our beliefs. Sometimes I think we go through a crisis sometimes when we dive to a deeper level and be like, oh shit, like, why do I believe this? Is this really what I believe? Or we find another truth that challenges maybe that one that we thought was true. It kind of brings me back to the sentence like, you are only as powerful as you are aware, and you're only as potentially harmful as you are blind.
Mhm.
And so trying to be as conscious as you can about why you believe what you believe. And a lot of our actions are unconscious, and there's situations I show up, I'm just like, why did I do that? Why did I react like that? Why to do those things? We're much more emotional than we think we are, as human beings. So
Yeah,
I
no, I'm with you.
yeah, I love that what you said.
Perfect. We're not done, but I like to put it a little bit more in the middle. That way people can hear it. Where can people find you for branding, for the Brotherhood, for whatever you want to lead people to?
Yeah, if people want to come check out the first event for free, just message me on Instagram. It's Travis Brady Brands. I can get you tied in with a lot of really awesome guys that I look up to, motivate me, inspire me. So our goal is to be Arizona's biggest network in the next 2 years, and it's by really getting behind men and other communities. So if you're building a community, would love to send people your way as well.
Awesome. Perfect. And then on the branding, is it the same place for them to touch base with you on that too, or is there a different place they should go? And we'll drop all this in the show notes as well. That way, when they are listening to the episode, they can click and just go.
Yeah, branding wise, I have a docu series. It's called findyourbrandxfactor.com. It's really the first stages in starting to build your brand AI. If you go to findyourbrandxfactor.com, all spelled out, find your brand X Factor, and every brand needs to be able, like I was saying earlier, to essentially influence through your four messages. I also refer to those as your four archetypes: your lover, your magician, your warrior, and your king. And every one of those operates different. The lover operates more off feeling. The magician operates more off thinking and logic. The warrior operates off more of doing. The king operates more of being. And so we really dive deep in those. I have some quizzes, have a lot of really cool stuff. So that's completely free if people want to go check that out.
No, I love that. That's awesome. So I'm gonna do a couple what I call more fun questions. You said that last night you had whiskey and bourbon. So I'm a Whistle Pig guy. I love Whistle Pig. I like Wilcock. I like some Scotch. What type of whiskey or bourbon do you enjoy? Like, doesn't have to be this is the best one ever, but like, what's one that you like?
Yeah, my go-to lately is Mexican Coke, not the not the cocaine, the actual
I
soda.
do that. I do that.
Mexican Coke, and then I'll do peach whiskey, and then I'll do a lime, and that is just golden. That's my go-to.
Nice. No, I love that. If you could, because I want to know what your thoughts on this, and I ask this question to everyone, so it's been a while. If you could go back in time or forward in time, there's no rules on this question, and you can meet one person, stay with them for 1 year, bring that wisdom and knowledge back here. Where would you go, and who would you meet, and what would you bring back?
Man, I feel, and you have to stay with them for 1 year.
You get to stay with them for 1 year. So
Get to
like I've had, yeah, I'm not going to put any names out there because like I've done this a few times. It's just an interesting question to see.
stay with them 1 year. I mean, the first person that comes to my mind is Jesus, right? Isn't that the
Mhm.
go-to answer to be able to learn from the king himself? Yeah, I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Although living in that time would be a very much wake up call to live with no electricity, no running water. Like I don't think people realize how hard that would be.
Yep. Yep.
But I'm with Jesus, so that makes up for everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. What they did, actually, the Romans did. I'm a little history nerd. The Romans did have an aqueduct system, so there was a little bit of a running water thing, but not
Okay.
as well because it was done through lead pipe. So it's kind of good, kind of bad. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, you'll actually be surprised. You're the third person, and I probably asked this at least 50 times in the 280 episodes I've done it that have
Yeah.
said Jesus. A lot of people say their parent or someone that they've lost. I've
Yeah.
had Julius Caesar.
Really
I've had a
Caesar.
lot of weird different ones. I've only
Yeah.
had one person go into the future because they wanted to see what their life would look like. I'm like, that's cool. Before I let you go, though, Travis, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? I know we talked about branding, we talked about brotherhood, we talked about life in general.
Yeah, I think we talked about good things. You asked some really good questions. So yeah, excited. Thanks for having me on here. It was a great time and great conversation.
Awesome. And for all you listening, reach out. Reach out to Travis. And if you're not in this area, reach out to someone because at the end of the day, we all need a brotherhood. We all need a life that we love waking up to. No rules, but the rules that you put on yourself to love your family, love people, and be legendary.